Welcome to the delegates. Today's presentation title is How to Resist Peer Pressure. Basically, this title has been chosen aiming for the students, especially the students when they join to the college. In the beginning, there could be a lot of peer pressures they can come across. So maybe the undergraduate students or postgraduate students or maybe schools or colleges, when they enter into the new system, probably they may encounter with a lot of pressures, peer pressures, and this title is How to Resist Peer Pressure. So first of all, let us understand what is a peer pressure and what examples can we discuss in this study. Peer pressure is when you are influenced by other people to act in a certain way. That means your friends who are doing something else, typically you are not interested to do that. You won't do that. And of course, they convince you to do the same, but you wanted to escape from that, but they wanted to pressurize you to encounter you. So what you should know about under the situation of a peer pressure? So that make a good people to do a bad things, and we know bad association spoils useful habits. And also the peer pressure is not just pressure put on to you by pressure. It also going to decide your whole future based on your activity and attitude. There is going to be a turning point in your life. If you choose a good, it will be a good. So sometimes you may feel that I wish to do a right thing, and what is bad present in that without knowing the ground realities. So the pressure that probably you may feel, which come from the various surfaces, various people, and who desire the things, and they wanted to make you also do the same thing, which sometimes may bring you an exciting situation. Facing up to the peer pressure, you presume that accomplishment that you can be proud of by doing so, but in reality it is not like that. So let us see what are the various types of peer pressure which you would come across. One is active peer pressure, other one is a passive peer pressure. Active peer pressure is nothing but a situation where a person tries to convince you to do something else which may not be acceptable to you or which may not be correct to you or to the society. For example, two friends encourage the third one to drive above the over limit of the speed, maybe a car. Also under your pressurized situation, you will take it forward. Is it correct according to your conscience? The other type of peer pressure is passive peer pressure, which refers to a modeled or mimicked behavior. What do you mean by that? It's nothing but social psychological studies provide an evidence, imitation of most focusedly based on the human mimicry. So in this field of research, mimicry is also defined as an unconscious or automatic imitation of a gesture of a person or behavior or facial expression by means of speech or movement. So this is a passive kind of a peer pressure. There are various other kinds of peer pressures. One is the spoken peer pressure. The teenagers, they ask, they persuade, they direct and engage in a specific wrong conducts kind of behavior. Other one is unspoken pressure, peer pressure. They don't speak, but by action, by attitude, you will be moved towards to do such kind of habits. Other one is direct peer pressure and indirect peer pressure, negative peer pressure, positive, like that many types of there. But what are the root causes of peer pressure, where it will lead? So the cause of the peer pressure includes need to fit. That means it will bring into a low kind of esteem, fear of rejection, and sometimes it will bring negativity in your mind, and the outcome will be very worst. So the peer pressure is most commonly found in all kinds of ages, right from school, colleges, undergraduate, postgraduate, especially when students join in the new community, student fraternity, they will be influenced by a group of people. So now, according to your research, what are the most common peer pressures? Out of the research article, an outcome it says using of drugs, alcohol, tobacco. People might suspect a kind of behavior, and they used to be exposed by means of pressurizing through your peers and friends. The other type is that stealing. Some cases, the people or friend, they convince you or influence you to take an item even without paying, maybe in a bazaar or mall or something like that. The third one is that harassment. It could be any kind of harassment or gender discrimination. The fourth one is the fleshly activity. And there are various other type of risky behavior also can be considered according to a research article. And what are the effects? There is going to be a negative peer pressure which often influence a bullying effect. Some people may say that will have a moderate drinking of alcohol. Sometimes it may lead to more than moderate and become addict of using drugs, and projection of negative body images. These are all the harmful conduct, maybe a young personal well-being. And the other effects of such behavior can decrease self-confidence in a human being, self-worth, and distancing from family members and friends. These are all the various root cause effects. And sometimes when you cave into a peer pressure, you become like a mindless robot, because you will allow other people to control you. They will operate through switch, or they will operate through robot, how it acts. It's not your own action, it's operated by somebody else. That's what we have seen the games. There are so many games we have seen in the TVs and all. Now you are operated by somebody else. The rummy games or paid games, something like that. Now the question is, do you face such kind of peer pressure, or you have been pulled in a kind of a society? If so, this presentation will help you to deal with that. So how can we control the peer pressure? One is that ask yourself certain kind of question. Am I under the control of my own consciousness, or I am being controlled by somebody else? And try to say no before you say yes. Think, say no to them, and make your own a positive statement and tell them on the face. That's why practice saying no to others if you think your conscience doesn't permit. Sometimes you need to get away from the pressure zone and avoid a stressful situation in the first place itself. In the first place itself, refuse to do so. So by means of maintaining a good conscience, so that in whatever the way you are spoken against, or those who speak against you, or you may be put to into shame because of your own good conduct. As followers of the good leader, you need to follow a role model. So now finally, if you were confronted with the same situation, how could you choose a different path and resist the peer pressure? Point number one, anticipate. What do you mean by that? A scripture says that a shrewd one sees the danger and concealed himself, but the inexperienced keep right on going and suffer the consequences. If you are a shrewd one, you have to think ahead and conceal yourself. What is the danger will happen in future? Often you can see troubles in advance. No? For example, suppose you see a group of your college mate, colleagues or schoolmates, people ahead you, they were trying to pull you into a situation, but by means of anticipating the problem, you will be ready to deal with it and flee from the place. That is what anticipation. Take action in advance. Point number two, think. Maintaining a good conscience. That means you have to think, ask yourself, how will I feel in the long run if I go along with this crowd? You might temporarily avoid the disapproval of your peers. You have to think in advance, plan using your conscious mind. Third one is decide. The wise one is cautious. That is why one of the things it says that be cautious like serpent and innocent like dove. You have to act like innocent like dove, but you have to be very cautious in decision making things. Sooner or later, have to make a choice and live with the consequences if you decide into the bad consequences effect. And the other one is that act with faithfulness. What do you mean by that? If you have already thought about the consequences and made up your mind, stating your question, it can be surprisingly say what is going to reward for you, and you need to take a stand. Nobody can take your stand, and you need to take a stand. So how could you choose a different path and resist peer pressures? Don't worry, you don't have to give your peers to a lecture, but simply say no to them. That is more than enough. To make your own non-negotiable stand clear, you could say, I don't do that sort of things. You can say that I don't want to do that. Or you say that, I know that better than that. What do you say? I am not in a position to taking up the chance. The key is to respond promptly and with conviction. If you do, you might be surprised at how quickly your peers will back off. What is the action plan now? In conclusion, how can I prepare myself to resist the peer pressure? These are all the questions you need to ask, brainstorming. If my peers try to pressure me into a wrong conduct, what will I do? If your peers continue to taunting, walk away with them. Remember, the longer you stay with them, the more intense the pressure will become upon you. By leaving this sense, you show that you refuse to let others change who you are. Realistically speaking, you can't hide from the peer pressure, but you can decide what you want to do, set your position, and take control over that. In the end, choice is yours. Thank you for the patient listening. If you have any queries or discussion, you can mail me the email address which is appear on the slide. Thank you. Good day.